Hello and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam and I'm a real person, and today I want to talk to you about Star Wars Battlefront 2, the newer 2017 one here by EA. This is one I played here. This is the Xbox version. I'm playing on an Xbox Series X. And this review is going to kind of assume you're familiar with at least the previous title, the first EA Star Wars Battlefront, as it kind of builds off of that. But that's mostly what you need to know, I guess, for the preface of this being a first/third person shooter based in the Star Wars universe, and the second attempt for EA to do this here. And this is also my first time playing, so I am basing it off of playing it in 2024. I also took a bunch of notes on my phone because there's a lot of modes to mention. So let's just get right into that. So we'll start off with single player stuff. The place I started was with the campaign. This has an original story here. It takes place basically between the events of the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. Most of it is centered around playing as Eden Versio. Is your character. I don't know if she actually appears in other stuff and extended universe things, or if it's just here, or if she originated here, or what. But basically, she's this Imperial commander commanding the Inferno Squad for the Empire, and doing their bidding as you would. And essentially what happens is that she's given these orders to go and basically there's someone they have to save and evacuate, while all the civilians and everyone else are still left to kind of evacuate on their own. They're sent down to save a particular target on her home planet. And she doesn't like that and wants to save everybody, and the Empire's like, nope, that's, you can't do it. So she ends up defying orders, trying to fight off all of the invading forces of the Empire, and essentially ends up joining the Rebel Alliance to kind of fight against them, since she really doesn't have much other choice at this point. And a lot of the gameplay here is still, core gameplay wise, is pretty similar to the first game, as far as like, recharging your guns and the gunplay, the first third person shooter thing. You had no ammo, it's heat up and cool down kind of thing. There is a new part where if you, when your gun overheats, if you choose to, there's basically the bar you can hit where if you get it within this like bar of it, the overheating, like the cooldown phase, it'll be like a quick cooldown. You can start shooting again like normal. But if you wait a little bit longer, there's like this golden area on the cooldown bar. And if you get it within that area and that range, you'll get a few seconds of like being able to just shoot without building up any heat at all before it goes back to normal. Also, throughout this, you'll be finding little places you can go. Like, you have a droid with you here. So this droid is able to do things like look into security cameras and see where enemies are. There's some elements of stealth where you can go around and try to not be detected by enemies. Or you can just go out guns blazing if you want to do that. You can choose to defeat enemies, actually, or just, sneak by them. You don't have to kill anybody. It kind of gives you some freedom to do that. There's also has the ability, the droid can go and like stun. Once it has enough charge in it, it can like stun an enemy for you. The droid can also hack into things like open up doors and stuff, or locked crates. There are also these supply crates you can find around here that actually have a bunch of stuff in them, which is basically where you go to kind of customize your character a bit as you're going through. From here, you can use any of the guns that are in this crate that you found in the adventure so far. You can swap between the different weapons. There are also on the ground you can use as well. I pick up like in certain respawn points, but these are the places where you can do that more effectively from all the weapons that you have available to you. And you can also go in and do alter your different star cards So in this game, it works a little differently. Is that you instead of having star cards be all your abilities, um, you have set abilities right away, and essentially star cards can either improve those abilities, alter those abilities, replace those abilities, or just the star cards might actually just give you some other passive bonuses or something, like having like your health regen starts faster or something like that, right? Um, so the star cards work a little differently in that sense for this, and you slowly unlock more of those with more choices to do and unlock more guns and things as you go through. So it works as a pseudo tutorial for figuring out how to kind of play in the basics of the game. Um, so like I'm saying, the missions here are, some of these are missions are kind of trying to be more stealthy. Some of these are more just full on attacks. And you might get a few special objectives here and there. You might have to escort someone or overtake an area or something. You might have to hold back in some position or something. Um, and there's a little bit of vehicle stuff happening a bit too. Um, there's some stuff in the starfighters as well. There's some space battles of going through and blowing things up and fighting other fighters and stuff like that as well. There are also some sections where you actually are playing as some other known character in the Star Wars universe. And again, as they would be in this time in these events between the original series and the sequel trilogy. And with these different characters have their own like weapons and abilities and things. So there's a few special missions like that as well scattered in there. And between most of your missions and things that you're doing, there are actual very cinematic cutscenes happening, where does try to emulate kind of like having the beats of like a Star Wars movie almost when you're going through those cutscenes. So that's basically the idea, is trying to fend off the empire that you defected from. Can you do that? And how long can you run from your past? That's essentially the campaign without giving you a whole bunch of spoilers or anything. Um, and For other single player stuff, there are things like, so this instant action is one of the options you can select. And here there are three different things you can pick in instant action. There's mission defend, mission attack, and supremacy. So mission attack and defend are basically two different sides of the same coin. In this mission mode, the defenders have these three positions you start out with that you're trying to hold and defend, and the attackers have to take at least one of them to succeed. If they do that, you have to fall back to a previous position, to these other positions further away. There's two positions, same kind of thing. If they take one, you fall back to another set of two positions, and if one of those gets taken, which is taken by just being around it long enough unopposed without enemies being able to wipe them out or whatever. And then after that, there's one final last position. If the attackers take all the positions within the time limit, they win. And if the the defenders hold out for long enough without being taken, then they win. That's basically mission mode. Supremacy is similar, probably the most similar to the original Star Wars Battlefront, where you had these command posts and you go and you try to capture and hold those. And if you have majority of the posts, while you have it, you have a reinforcement meter that is represented by a percentage, and that will slowly go up. So once you hit 100%, that team wins. There's also some arcade mode things. That's what they're called. So here's where you can actually find a proper tutorial to play if you want to have a how-to there. There are battle scenarios, which are basically just a bunch of different kind of challenge battles you can do with different criteria, and they will have 3 different star difficulties to try out. So the higher the star difficulty, the harder it will be, the more you're expected to do, etc. There's also something called Custom Arcade, which has a couple of things in it here. There is Onslaught, which is basically you start off and essentially you have to just keep getting a bunch of kills when you have like a limited amount of time. And every time you get kills, some more time is added to the timer. So you're trying to get as many kills as you can, keep the timer going to try and, I believe, trying to hit a high score for doing that. Once time runs out, that's it. Or I guess I think I don't know if you die. I don't remember now if you die if that ends it or not. But I believe the main thing is just like if you run out of time, then you lose. That's the end of it. Then there's also a team deathmatch, which is basically or it's called team battle, and it's basically just team deathmatch where you fight against one team fights another until all of the reinforcements are gone. Whoever's reinforcements go to zero first loses. And then there's also Starfighter versions of both of these modes. So those are the 4 modes in arcade solo, or then in custom arcade. That brings us then to co-op missions, which are basically you have 4 people, which you yourself and 3 other people online, go up against AI opponents here. And basically, they're like the mission attack and defend modes, but it's just a group of you plus AI units on your side versus enemy AI units. So the odds are kind of stacked a bit that way, but it could be a bit easier. I don't know. But the same kind of premise there of going through and trying to win those, control those areas or to defend your areas. With a few other people online instead of just everyone online. And after that, we've got the proper multiplayer mode, and there's a lot of stuff in here. And also, I'll bring this up now, I guess, for some of this stuff too. You'll probably see it in those other modes as well, but when you're playing this, the multiplayer mode has a few things to keep in mind, where when you're playing multiplayer, you do unlock things here. You have to still unlock your star cards. You get those there's actually separate classes of characters. So when you're playing as there's 4 base classes of characters, and each one, when you're playing as them, they have different weapons available to them and different star cards available to them. The more that you play them and do things with them, you'll get experience and rank up, and that allows you to unlock more star cards and upgrade your star cards to increase their abilities and things. Again, each one has their own preset loadout to start with. Then you can use the points you're getting to unlock or upgrade your different star cards. And while you're playing the matches, you get points that are just for that match. They expire after the match. And those in-match points can be used to purchase special units or some vehicles or different heroes, notable, heroes and villains from the series, depending on, where you are and the side you're on and that kind of thing. And these usually have units, again, have their own loadouts and star cards and abilities you can customize as well. But for the multiplayer modes, you've got Supremacy, which here is actually a little different than the other Supremacy. It starts off the same way, trying to capture and hold command posts until you have enough reinforcements. That's the first phase. The second phase then has a short period where the ships that you want to board to transport you to the enemy's capital ship. And everyone who gets on the ship will add time to your time up on the capital ship once you get there, if you can survive to get into that without getting killed. Phase 3 is, when you're on the actual capital ship, there's some control points you have to capture in order to basically establish a foothold on the ship. And then phase 4 is going in to destroy the critical systems on the ship. And if you do that and you take out the capital ship, then you win. However, if you fail at either the phase 3 or 4 there when you're on the ship, it'll keep your progress, but it'll return to the main phase 1 battle again, and it'll give you a chance to either for you to go up and do that again, or for the enemy potentially to have a shot at yours if they can get their bar up again. So it just basically resets that first phase again, and you have to keep going that way. Although for some reason there's only the ground phase when you're in the Rebels and the Empire, for some reason. Another mode, there's Heroes and Villains, which actually is 3 different modes here. There's Heroes versus Villains, which is just a 4v4 heroes and villains, and you have limited team lives, so you just kind of keep fighting until you run out of lives. There is a Hero Starfighters, which is pretty similar, except here, you're fighting in basically hero and villain ships. The notable characters have their own special ships in space. You're doing the space combat. But also different is that if you die as a hero or villain or whatever, you come back as a regular ship, and you can keep going until all of the major ships are defeated on one side or the other. And for these, you actually have to win 3 rounds in order to win the whole thing. And then there's also Hero Showdown, which is actually 2v2 heroes versus villains. So you're just teams of 2. And basically, it's just 3 rounds of 2v2 eliminations. Whoever is the last one standing, that team wins, and you have to win 3 rounds of that. And also, anybody who is killed during this, cannot come back for a subsequent round. So your roster will thin out as you lose, or as you're going through there. And then there's a section that's just called More, for even more multiplayer modes. And here there's Galactic Assault, which you're basically either attacking or defending certain positions, and then you'll fall back if something is taken. And so if the attackers, they capture, hold, or escort or whatever, do something with all the objectives, they'll win. Or if the defenders can deplete the reinforcements because the attackers have limited reinforcements to do this, if they can do that, then if they deplete the reinforcements, then the defenders will win. But as they complete these objectives, they're like checkpoints, the attackers will get another boost in reinforcements to keep going. Starfighter Assault is kind of similar. Basically, one team is attacking, certain objectives. The defending team is defending objectives. Again, there's limited lives to work with. So you're trying to deplete... Defenders are trying to deplete the attackers' reinforcements, while the attackers are trying to destroy the objectives in time. Then there's a strike/extraction mode. Is kind of all put into a rotation into one. There's like 3 different things in this rotation. One of them is capture the flag, where basically one side is basically like defending something, some package or whatever, and the other team is trying to grab that package and bring it back to this exit point so that they can win. Again, limited reinforcements here, so it's either them finishing the objective or they lose if they run out of reinforcements to do it. Strike is where one side has limited reinforcements to plant 2 bombs, and the defending side is trying to stop them from doing so and dwindling those reinforcements to 0. And for this, you actually have to win 2 rounds of this in order for you to actually win. So you'll do this a few times. And then Extraction. In that, basically, the extractors are trying to push this payload through these 3 different objectives. They have 5 minutes to do so, and every time they hit an objective, they get another 5 minutes. So the defenders are trying to fend them off for that amount of time, while the extractors are trying to push that payload to the end of the stage. Then there's a mode called Blast, which is basically just team deathmatch. It's just with 100 reinforcements. That's pretty basic, pretty simple. The last one here is Ewok Hunt. So in Ewok Hunt, you have Ewoks. Basically, there's 20 players max. 2 of them start as Ewoks, and the rest start as Imperial troopers. So with the Ewoks, they have better increased vision because they're in third-person mode. They have a lighter version of the map that they're looking at, and they also have these little shortcuts they can take. There's a few little shortcut warp points around the levels they can use. Of course, they have limited abilities because they don't really have guns, so they're have some projectile things they can kind of throw, they can attack with. But that they're more limited in like what they have for some of their abilities and things. The stormtroopers don't have any star cards here, and they only have like one gun on them. But they do have flashlights. They're stuck to first person mode and they have a really dark map. That's why they're given flashlights. Um, and they can pick up other weapons, but they're hidden across the map. Basically, the goal is for the Ewoks. It's basically like Infection, where the Ewoks go around. If they kill a stormtrooper, that stormtrooper then respawns as an Ewok. They're trying to defeat all the stormtroopers to turn all of them into Ewoks. Whereas stormtroopers are trying to survive the night until their transport can arrive. There are also these signals they can go and find that are hidden across the level. Of course, that's kind of dangerous to be running off around the level or trying to split up or anything. So, like, they're going to try and get those. But if they get those, they can shorten the amount of time it takes for the transport to come and escort them out of there. And once that transport's there, they still have a little bit of time before they have to get on to the transport to actually exit and escape alive. So they're trying to survive the night. Ewoks are trying to get them all. It is kind of an infection type thing, basically. And those are all of the multiplayer modes. And other general things to keep in mind here too is that you as you're leveling up, things and getting star cards and stuff, you're doing that per unit, or per class, I guess. So these aren't going to carry over to everyone. You have to get unlocks for each one. For unlocking weapons, you get those actually through milestones, which are kind of like in-game achievements, basically, of like things you're doing, whether it's a feat or it's a cumulative thing, whatever. There's a lot of different criteria for doing those, and that's where you're going to unlock most of your weapons. You can also get like there are credits in the game to buy certain things like cosmetics and stuff for your different characters and things. There are also as a premium currency that are crystals, which are pretty rare to get, and mostly you probably have to pay for those, or you can just try to pay for bundles and things. And also you can buy loot crates. There are loot crates in here that you're unlocking periodically over leveling up and doing things. That's where you're going to find, again, more of the cosmetics and other stuff in there as well. And yeah, actually, I think that's pretty much everything there is to say about just the general stuff, which is a lot. I realize there's a lot to say there, but it's a very multiplayer focused game. And I want to say for the positives, then, now that we're actually into me getting to share the flavor of my thoughts, the single player story stuff is great. This is probably the highlight of the game. I was not expecting. Not only was I not expecting a campaign really like at all, I was not expecting an original story set between these movies that had this level of polish of like, oh yes, we're actually making it feel like a Star Wars movie when we're doing it. I think it's done really, really well. It was really fun and engaging, and it kind of got you into some of the mechanics and things while you were doing it. The core gameplay is still good. It's still pretty much the same as the previous game, so it's not like a lot to say there, really. Although I do think it is interesting the way the star cards have kind of shifted to make it so that you're kind of customizing like your experience a little more. Rather than your star card is your ability, now it's like your star card can change your abilities or alter things, and there's just some more depth to doing that. And I also, to go with that, I also generally like the way they've decided to like make it so there's like those in-game like points or whatever you can use to spend to get different units. That way, it's not just like whoever's playing the best gets the dibs on the best characters first. It's like, no, if you save up your points and do stuff during the match, and you're doing things, you'll be rewarded with being able to get cooler stuff. So anybody kind of has a chance at it, even if you're like, and also the fact that there's some classes are more geared towards like doing more supportive roles, like especially like the officer class has a lot of stuff to like help buff your allies. That stuff's really cool. So it just adds a bit more depth rather than everyone feeling like they're all kind of like the same cookie cutter, character with a few different abilities on them, lone wolfing it together. It feels like there's a little bit more cohesiveness, a little bit more specificity in the classes and stuff, and that's pretty interesting. I thought the bringing back what is like the supremacy thing of like basically being like the old Battlefront games. I like that they at least brought a mode back that's similar to that. Once again, here also the sound design, the visuals, all that polish is really good. It looks great, it sounds great, it feels very good to play. So I think they nailed a lot of that still, which it would be weird if they made it worse. So I'm not that surprised at that, but that's still good that it's there. And having more modes here is kind of nice. To have the different modes. I like them. I think also I really thought like I liked the co-op. I liked a lot just because it was less pressure. I didn't feel like I was like, somebody has to like lose really because you're playing against AI. So ideally, if you do really well, then all the humans playing just feel good because they win. So I like that addition. And just the fact there's a few different modes to play for offline, single player play as well. That's nice to have too, because I know the servers won't last forever. Although there were quite a few people playing. I was surprised how many people are still playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 even now, like 7 years later. But Ewok Hunt was really cool because it's weird that it makes like the Ewoks like scary. A different take on the hunt thing. The way it's asymmetrical as well. Like I don't know, I think it's really cool. It's a pretty fun experience. It's cool they added in an infection mode and they did it in a really interesting way. So I was pretty impressed with that mode as well. I mean, it's not something you want to play a zillion times necessarily, but it is pretty fun. I do like that. Very very interesting take. And there's just lots to do, lots of different modes, lots of stuff to unlock. There's definitely a good chunk of content here, especially if you're playing online. So I got to give a credit for that. All that being said, I do still think that there are some issues here. Probably partly due to the fact that it is so multiplayer heavy that it can get really repetitive. There's lots of different modes, but a lot of them feel kind of samey. You're doing sort of the same stuff, it's only slightly different between them. So it doesn't feel like the modes are super like distinct for some of the things. There's also a lack of distinction. Like while it's nice, they do have not only the original trilogy, they have the prequels and the sequels in here. The Resistance stuff, Resistance versus the First Order feels about the same as Rebels and the Empire. They don't really look or feel that incredibly different. So that's kind of a bummer. A lot of the like modes and things you're doing, a lot of this blends together. A lot of classes are similar. While you can be a lot of different classes, I mostly just stuck to the main classes. I didn't really use much for special units or heroes or anything. They just weren't as fun to use. And similarly, once again, I think while the space combat is fine, I just didn't really like it that much. It was not really that engaging, and so I mostly found myself just playing, like I mostly avoided those modes. I played them to say that I played them, but I really wanted to avoid them. Even the story, which I think was really good, they added this other part. There's this thing called Resurrection, which is like years later, a follow up and to some of these events. It's very short, and I feel like it just left off on a really weird note. It was not a satisfying note. I feel like they should have just left the main story alone and let it just be there and kind of ended it. There was like a natural ending point to that story, and they feel like they kind of stretched it a little bit to try and weave it into the universe more, and potentially open up the room for like more extended universe stuff that they wanted to do. But I didn't think it was very satisfying. It was kind of a cheap thing to do, and I think they should have just left it and let it end where it was naturally satisfying to end. And I guess part of it, I think, to me too. I mean, I also mentioned the online thing. You're still going to be fighting to have a fair fight. Essentially, you're going to have to grind for a while before you're going to be, up to having a fair matchup, because the people you're playing against, they did a better job here, but the people you're playing against not only still have years of experience on you probably at this point, but they also are going to have, again, more weapons. They're going to have more star cards available. They're going to have fully upgraded star cards available. They can easily outplay you in a lot of ways that you have to grind for a while before you can even get close to having a fair matchup for just the stuff you can do, just through the actual game itself, not even accounting for the skill you'll need to go up against them as well. So there's definitely still that kind of an issue, barrier to entry to the game. And I think part of this is just me maybe getting a bit fatigued on online gaming stuff too. But it just there was so much to grind and get and do, and with how repetitive it was, it almost felt like it was going to be a chore to play more of this. And I was going to play some more just to be like, oh, maybe I should do some more, unlock some more stuff before I throw in my 2 cents. But I played a little bit more, and it didn't grab me. And that may say more about me than it does about this game. But it is something I noted that it just felt a little empty to keep doing the multiplayer stuff. Once I saw what the modes were, it was fun to play some of them that I wanted to play. Those are cool, but a lot of it I just kind of felt like, what, I could pass on this. I don't really feel like doing this right now. And I think that speaks somewhat to me, but also somewhat speaks to the game as well. So, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the new one, is it's good. I'm not gonna say it's a bad game. It's a good game. There's still people playing it. I think it's good. It's a great review. It's good. It's just that the like I said, like if you're gonna do this, I would say don't really get this for the online. It's nice to have. It's a good addition. There's lots to do there, but if you're looking to get this, don't get it at full price. Get it at a reduced price and get it for that campaign. The story mode is cool. That's good. I would recommend playing that. I was pretty impressed with that. In fact, if they could make a whole game like that, that almost is probably more appealing than something like this where they've tried to like throw it in and glue it onto the online thing. I do appreciate that at least they have something that isn't more of a full package that way and it wasn't just all the online. Sorely missed is the survival mode, of course. I really wish that was still here. I really wish they could make essentially like a Battlefront 3 is what I want. Make a Star Wars Battlefront 3 that has all of the best stuff from, this one, the one before it, and then the two original ones. Take all the best stuff from all of the Battlefront things and cram them into one, you know, highly polished, specialized, and like, here's the best of the best stuff you get out of Battlefront and throw that at us. That would be awesome. I don't think we're going to get that, but that would be ideal. I think everyone would probably like that, right? Make a really awesome Star Wars Battlefront game. That's, of course, people would like it because it's good. That's a dumb thing to say, but you know what I mean. So, I guess what I'm curious for here is that I'm curious what you guys think. Did you like the story mode? Do you actually really like the multiplayer? Do you still play this multiplayer? And how do you feel about the other offline modes and offerings? Like I say, I don't really like playing as heroes or special units or starfighters. There's a lot of stuff I just didn't really care for in this. Is that a universal thing, or is that mostly me? What do you guys think? What is your favorite of all the Star Wars Battlefront games that are out there? That might be interesting to hear about. But it was neat to stream. It was fun to do. I don't know what the next stream is going to be. I don't know what the next review is going to be. But this has been a fun adventure, nonetheless. I do have one more Star Wars Battlefront game. I don't know if I'm going to play that next or not. It's the DS one, so we'll see. Whatever happens will happen. Potentially by the time you're watching this, maybe it already will have happened. But I also don't write these, so no script means I don't know how to end it. So that's good enough. Leave stuff in the comments if you want to, or don't. I don't care. Bye.